What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Always happy to see you guys here, and welcome to my review of Death of a Unicorn. This was something that was, of course, another anticipated film of mine, and for those of you newbies who just subscribed or is just coming across this video and you want to subscribe, that's something that you're going to hear me say a lot about so many movies. So essentially what you have here is this father and daughter who are on their way up to this remote mansion out in the middle of nowhere to meet up with this family. And on their way there, they hit this unicorn and they kill it, which unfortunately for them and everybody else, unleashes this evil force of two other unicorns to come back to exact bloody revenge for the murdered one. And they end up killing everyone, and they end up slaughtering everyone. It becomes a slaughter fest, basically. I've heard whispers of this film months prior to its release. I had no idea what to expect. I had no idea what it was going for. And then I saw the company, which is A24, which they release a lot of weird shit. So I had no idea what to expect, because they're known for their quirkiness and weird things that they push for. Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega are two actors I highly respect. I mean, Paul Rudd, ever since I've seen him in Halloween 6 and Friends, and then later on, way later on, as Ant-Man, I've come to really respect. And Jenna Ortega, I hadn't seen much of her yet, but what I've seen of her, I liked. But was this something for me? Was this something that I could get behind, or was this just a huge, gigantic waste of time? Starting off with the positives of Death of a Unicorn, I did appreciate the concept. I appreciate the concept about the monstrous unicorns, per se. I mean, you always hear about unicorns being like the granddaddy of all fairy tales. Unicorns, mermaids, the Loch Ness Monster, whatever else you want to say, whatever else you want to think of. Unicorns, from what I was always told, from what I had always understood, is like the very definition of what made those tales. I'm not privy to a lot of it, but I've heard whispers of unicorns and all that stuff that revolves around fairy tales, but I've always interpreted as unicorns being the masters of that universe. Here you have them as these murderous monsters that wreak havoc. Of course I'd be down. I mean, who wouldn't, especially if you're a horror fan. The design of these creatures was actually pretty interesting, was actually pretty satisfying. I thought they looked pretty cool. They were pretty menacing, they were pretty intimidating, and unlike most of the fairy tales, it's kind of like the Grimm brothers version of them, to where you have these unicorns that are thought to be these magical creatures and these drop-dead gorgeous just white horses out in the field. But here you have them as monsters. They kind of look like billy goats in a way, but they're like blackish. Of course, half the film takes place at night, but still you can tell they're not white, they're not nice, and you need to stay the hell away from them. Pretty much. And it's funny, there's not many tales other than Brothers Grimm. Again, I'm not privy to a lot of that stuff, so forgive me if I'm ignorant in that area, but you don't hear of unicorns being villains that much. You get a little glimmer in The Cabin in the Woods, which happened at the slaughter scene at the end of that film, in the third act of that film, but that's about it. That's all I've seen. There's probably other depictions out there where they are murderers, but none that I've seen, none that hit these eyes until this film. But it was fun seeing these characters. I thought they looked pretty cool. I thought they were pretty interesting. Plus, I liked the lore that they gave them. There's this little monologue that Jenna Ortega, there's just this ton of research that she does that tells like the lore and the backstory of these creatures. Plus you get a little bit of a hint at the beginning and right at the end, which I thought was pretty interesting. It might confuse a lot of people. I think there was something online where the director had to clear a lot of that up, but I didn't need clearing. I thought it was pretty interesting. I thought it was a really interesting take. Definitely a supernatural element to it, that's for sure. I won't say what it was, but I thought it was pretty interesting. I thought it was really cool, and I dug it. I dug it a lot. It was just one of those premises that really made you think, like, what if these things were real, and all these things did exist within our realm, of course, and all this stuff actually was happening. So it just, again, I'm just saying, it was pretty interesting. It was pretty cool. Sorry for the rant. But that's what these videos are for. The characters in this film were fun, especially the family that Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega goes up there to this mansion to meet. They were fun characters. There's no denying that. I thought they were pretty fun. You've got Téa Leoni, who I've known for the most in the original Bad Boys. I've liked ever since then, and I thought she was pretty cool in this. She plays the snooty mother of the family, and she's got her moments, that's for sure. Sort of like a young Catherine O'Hara from Beetlejuice. Not quite the same, but close. I thought she was great. You have Richard E. Grant, who plays the father, the bedridden, almost sickly, dying character that gets cured later on. It shows us in the trailer, so I'm not giving out anything. No spoilers here. I haven't seen all of his work, but I've known him the most for making those cameo appearances in the Hitman's Bodyguards movies. But I thought he was pretty good here. He's pretty cool here. And Will Poulter, who basically steals the show, especially in terms of the comedic tone of this film. I could not stop giggling. He steals a majority of this film's runtime in the sense of comedy, that every time he shows up, he always got something snarky to say, some smart-ass comment that I just couldn't help but giggle every time. And even the people around me was like doing the same. Just couldn't stop laughing. Even Anthony Kerrigan of Gotham, which is the only thing I've seen that guy in, I thought his character was pretty good. He plays the butler. He was one of those secondary characters, but every time he showed up, they always made like some sort of a joke about him. And even he poked fun at himself a little bit here and there. Yeah, he definitely had his moments in terms of comedy. And speaking of, actually makes my second time watching this, and I admit it takes me this long to actually warm up. Heart Eyes being the first one. Now, I stand to a lot of things that I've said about comedy and horror films that most of them does not do, like comedy in general. But here lately, Hard Eyes being the first, well, actually Companion, but I've only seen that once. I'm just saying, it takes me 2 times sometimes of watching a movie to get that the comedy actually does work. Heart Eyes being the first one this year anyway, and this one actually being my second viewing, the comedy was really working for me. It didn't work for me the first time, but it worked for me this time. Point being, the comedy really did work for me, which is a little bit of a relief. And I couldn't be happier for that. I really couldn't be happier. I really couldn't be more relieved. That's just not something I can say as much, but here lately I'm feeling like I'm saying it a little bit more. A little bit more. And I'm happy to say it, though. I'm happy that it's happening, at least. Moving on to my mixed. The father-daughter, played by Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega. Again, 2 actors I deeply respect. Here they were okay. What worked, and this is going to be a little different from how everybody else is reviewing this, especially this segment, but I liked the chemistry between them. I liked the hardship that they went through with everything that went down with their past. I liked the chemistry between them two. I liked their dynamic. It really drove the film home for me. It made me feel for these characters later on as the film progressed, as the film's runtime continued. Just having that connection of just the past and what happened to them in their lives. However, them as individuals, not so much. With Paul Rudd's character, he's sort of a pushover. There's not really much there that really satisfied me on a character level. Like, I'm trying so hard not to contradict myself here or sound biased, but there's, like, with the whole thing with the chemistry between them two was great. But them as individuals, like, again, with Paul Rudd's character, he just seemed a little bit too much of a pushover, and there wasn't really that much there that interested me. And in Jenna Ortega's case, she plays about the same character in everything, with the exception of Wednesday. That rebellious, disrespectful teen, it's just the same thing over and over. Now, I haven't seen much of her work. I've only seen a few, which is why I'm not coming down on her as hard as most others are. I hope we get to see her in something else other than that type of character. And just something different and something newer and fresh. And I'm sure she will. I'm sure she will. I know she's coming out with another film, not too far off. I forget the name of it, but I'm sure she'll give us something different and something new. The Carnage Candy. Gotta talk about the Carnage Candy and the gore. I gotta say, it wasn't bad. But there were some moments in there where some of the kills felt a little off. Now, first of all, what worked in that aspect for me was the fact that there were some definite kills in this that really got to you. And some gory and some whacked out, over the top kills. There was definitely some that was effective, definitely some that stuck with you. Some had me going, nice one. But others felt a little bit off. Others felt like it was trying to push for that sort of a PG-13 style. This is a hard R rating. There's no denying that. But it just felt like some of the kill scenes were cut a little bit too fast, and it just seemed like it was trying to push for that more teen-friendly PG-13 tone. And it just kind of made it seem a little weird. It just made it feel off. It made it feel really weird. And it just made these scenes that just didn't work, that was being a little bit too quick-cutty, stick out like a sore thumb. And again, it just made it seem weird. Maybe that's because I've just, at this point in my life, I've seen it all. While the satisfaction is still there, 100%, it just felt like some of it was trying to distance itself from its true nature, from its true potential. I don't know, maybe I'm just a little bit of a tougher sell. You know, what can I say? The people that was with me, that was in the theater with me watching it, was actually kind of going, ooh. I heard him a little bit in the back. These were people that was just sitting right above me. And I'm like, yeah. Oh yeah. The only negative I could give this film, the only problem I have with it is not so much what it is, but there's this whole side plot which gets laid on pretty thick during the first act, to where they discover that the unicorn's blood, in essence, has the potential to cure sickness and disease and cancer. I really dug that. I really enjoyed that aspect of this film. The problem is, I felt like that they kind of abandoned it as the film went on. Of course, because they were dealing with all this other crazy stuff. But they never really went back to that portion of it. And it just got left in the first act of the film. Kind of makes it feel like it was like separate altogether. And it just like they forgot. But the whole science stuff behind that, with the curing of cancer and everything, I really dug. And I really kind of wish that they wouldn't have abandoned that. I wish they would have added at least maybe 10, 15, not even that much. Not even that long. Probably about 7 to 8 minutes onto this film, after, like right before the end credits, or like during the end credits scene or something like that. Of course, I never stuck through the credits for this. I'm not sure if there is an end credit scene. I kind of doubt there is. But that would have been actually pretty cool. That would have been a good excuse for an end credit scene, especially for a movie like this, because even though I know films like this usually don't have end credit scenes, not every movie needs an end credit scene. That's mostly Marvel's part. But still, that would have been cool to see. Just the whole entire scientific part of that was really interesting to me, especially before shit went down. And I really wish they would have gone back to that. But, yeah, what are you going to do? This was a pretty decent horror flick. Will this end up being in my top 10 favorites of 2025? No. But it's still pretty enjoyable. I do intend on owning it on Blu-ray or 4K or whatever it gets released on. I do plan on putting it right back there behind me in my collection. It's really not one of those where I'll immediately say, you have to go see it. It's a must-see. It's got to be on your bucket list. But there's still enjoyable moments to be had. It's still a fun entertainment film. It's nothing like that, but it's still enjoyable. It's still fun. It's still entertaining. It's a fun ride, and it's enjoyable enough for you to give it a chance. So, Death of a Unicorn, what was your thoughts on this? Have you seen this yet? Are you somebody that got enjoyment out of it? Are you somebody that enjoyed watching unicorns tear people apart? Did a film about monstrous unicorns satisfy you at all, or was this just the dumbest thing you've ever seen? Was this a waste of your time? Was this just plain stupid to you? Which, Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't blame you if you thought that. But leave your comment down below and give me your thoughts. Thank you so much, guys, as always, for clicking and watching this. I really do appreciate it. Like, subscribe, comment, and share. As always, make sure to click that bell icon so you don't miss a thing. And I will see you on the next one. Peace.